Our next speaker is from the federal sphere, and Damien, most of you know from just over the river, aren't we? And so, Damien, I guess the ball has really been in your court. It's been in the federal sphere for a little while now, and with a vote coming up May the 8th, things are looking fairly tight.
Thanks. Yes, it is, and I want to thank firstly the organisers for the opportunity to say good day and to give the crowd a little bit of insight into what's been happening in the federal sector. Although Austin's just stolen most of my information.
You're welcome.
But again, it is critically important, and I'm sure I don't have to tell this group just how important water policy is, and that we actually get the Murray-Darling Basin Plan to a certain stage before the next election, because if we happen to leave it undone with our political opponents coming in behind us, potentially, God knows where we will end up with water policy. And this is the biggest threat that drives us to achieve an outcome right now. So the three big issues that we are concerned about is the Northern Basin Review. As Austin says, for 4 years they conducted over 40 studies. An independent organisation came up with a correction within the Murray-Darling Basin Plan in the north, that they had taken 70 gigalitres too much out of productive agriculture, and instead of taking 390 gigs out, they needed to take 320 gigs out, and they set about putting in place a recommendation that was going to see 70 gigalitres returned to agriculture. Now this happened in, I think, October of 16, and not a word was spoken about this Northern Basin correction, a Northern Basin review. Not a word was spoken about this for over 12 months, until the Greens saw this thing coming through Parliament and thought naturally they will disallow this. And then the sheer bastardry of politics was there for everybody to see, where Tony Burke had a blue with Penny Wong. Penny Wong won with the South Australian election looming, and the Labor Party jumped ship and opposed the Northern Basin Review. Now that was bad enough, and that's politics. But what was worse, which Austin again spoke about, was the actions of Darren Hinch. Darren Hinch sat on the government side of the bench. He then jumped over and sat on the other side. He then, with a few minutes before the vote, he came back over to the coalition side, and then just prior to the vote he jumped over to the other side. The bloke had no idea what he was doing. He had no idea that what he was doing was absolutely critical to water policy. I don't know who he was talking to, I don't know who he was getting his advice from, but once, just like the backpacker tax, which many in this room realised was a quite critical issue to this area, here we have a bloke who sits in Melbourne, talks about being justice for all. He has no justice for the people in this region. So yes, I don't like him, but he deserves every whack he gets, because what he has done twice using his critical vote has been quite damaging to this area. So the Northern Basin Review will be brought back, and hopefully it will be passed. Hopefully, now that the politics is out of the road for a little while. But it does make you sick when you think that politics have got nothing to do with the actual issue, is dictating the fact that we do not have the numbers in the Senate. I have to come back to my people and say, unable to get this through. Why? Well, something's happening over here in South Australia and we don't have the numbers. Well, we elect you to go away to Canberra and get this stuff fixed up. Don't tell us your reasons and don't tell us your excuses, is roughly what we get hit with, and I can understand that. As Austin says again, the next or the second big issue is the 605. It was also, it's sitting there. Littleproud, as the Minister, is working as hard as he possibly can to not be too harsh, to not talk too nastily against Tony Burke, to make sure he keeps him in the tent. We need the Labor Party to effectively let us get this 605 gigalitre SDL through. It is absolutely critical. I don't expect New South Wales or Victoria to hang in if that gets disallowed. That's how critical it is, and where does the plan go to from there? So again, we don't know what we don't know. We're expecting the 605, we're hoping that Littleproud can convince Burke to let the 605 go through. 605 gigalitres that will come off the plan. So instead of 2750, we're back talking about a 2145 plan. Using a bit of science, using some technology, using some engineering as a way of delivering some outcomes without actually just pouring more water down the river. So the 605 is crucial, not only just that we achieve the ends of savings, but also that we keep New South Wales and Victoria in the tent. Then, of course, it comes down to the fight over the 450. This is something that just petrifies the people of my area, absolutely worries them senseless. It stops investment and is absolutely paramount to the future of the Golden Valley and the Murray-Darling and the Murray-Golden Murray district, irrigation district. So we understand there's a 5% rule that will impact on the 450s, which that might account for 62 that we might have to find if we have to compromise, and we have to, compromise to the tune of what the 5% rule says, because we have to stick rigidly to the plan. Whatever the plan says, we're prepared to go with. And if that says that we have to stick within a 5% rule, then we're prepared to do that, provided we can find the 62 gigs somewhere else in the system without coming off the farms. That's where we're at. So then it comes down to the second aspect of this, which is written in the plan, which has to be acknowledged that it's written in the plan, that there is a social and economic positivity or neutrality test that goes with any more water that is to be found. Now, we need robustness and we need some integrity in this assessment of what is or is not social and economic neutrality at worst. We cannot let these people say, well, if we buy Macca's farm off him for his water off him for $500,000 and we give him $500,000, he goes on the south of France. What's the problem? The community will always lose, and the community we've got enough material now to show us that the communities will always lose. Once you take water away from us, we understand that water is wealth, and we have to do everything we possibly can to make sure that the plan is followed to the full with all the integrity that we'd expect any other contract to be adhered to.